Something is moving, Capricorn. Not in the dramatic, sudden way that makes headlines in someone else's life. It is moving in the quiet, deliberate, deeply personal way that things always tend to move for you. You have always been someone who notices the world in details. You pick up on shifts that other people walk past without seeing. You pay attention. That is part of what makes you remarkable, even when the world around you does not always recognize it. And right now, if you are paying attention, you can feel it. Something is different. The air in your days has a different quality. The way your thoughts are organizing themselves feels more purposeful than it did weeks ago. There is a sense, hard to articulate but impossible to ignore, that the next 7 days are going to bring changes that you have been, in some ways, preparing for without even knowing it. These are not the loud, dramatic changes that show up all at once and demand immediate decisions. These are the shifts that Capricorn recognizes when they feel them, because your nature is attuned to the long arc, to the movement beneath the surface, to the slow but certain transformation that permanent change always requires. This video is going to walk you through 11 shifts you are about to notice, or may already be noticing, over the next 7 days. Some of them will feel small. Some will feel significant. All of them are pointing in the same direction, forward. Pay close attention. This is your moment. Shift 1. Your mind will begin to quiet down in the early hours. The first shift is one that happens before the day officially begins, in those quiet minutes between sleep and full wakefulness. For a long time, Capricorn, those early hours may have been some of your most anxious. Before you even had a chance to gather yourself, the mind was already running, cataloging what needed to be done, reviewing what had not yet been accomplished, measuring the distance between where you were and where you believed you should be. It is a familiar and exhausting pattern, and it is one that many Capricorns live with for years without recognizing how much energy it quietly consumes. Over the next 7 days, you are going to notice something different happening in those early morning moments. The mental noise is going to begin to quiet. Not all at once and not permanently from the first day. But there will be mornings where you open your eyes and instead of the immediate rush of anxiety or pressure, there is a few seconds, maybe even a full minute, of genuine stillness. In that stillness, you will find something unexpected. Clarity. Not the forced clarity of having figured everything out, but the natural clarity that arrives when the mind stops fighting and starts listening. Pay attention to what comes to you in that stillness. Ideas you have been circling for months may suddenly feel approachable. Solutions to problems you have been managing rather than solving may present themselves in a form you can actually use. Relationships that have felt complicated may become simpler in how you see them. This quieting of the early morning mind is not accidental. It is the first sign that the mental and emotional ground is beginning to shift beneath you. Something is clearing. Something is opening. And it starts in the silence before the day begins. Shift 2. A conversation will change something you have believed for a long time. Within the next 7 days, Capricorn, there is going to be a conversation that matters more than it appears to on the surface. It may be with someone you know well, someone you have spoken to 100 times before. Or it may be with someone newer in your life, someone whose perspective is still fresh to you. It may even be a conversation you have with yourself, in a journal, in a long walk, or in a moment of honest reflection that you allow yourself without the usual self-protective filters in place. Whatever form it takes, this conversation is going to reach something in you that has been held fixed for a long time. A belief you did not realize you were carrying. One that has been operating quietly in the background of your decisions and your self-perception for years. Maybe it is a belief that says you have to do everything alone to have any right to feel proud of it. Maybe it is a belief that says rest is weakness, or that ambition without constant sacrifice is not real ambition, or that the people who love you will stay only if you remain useful to them. These are beliefs that Capricorn carries, not because you chose them consciously, but because life and experience installed them a long time ago and they have been running in the background ever since. The conversation that is coming is going to interrupt one of those beliefs. It is going to hold up a mirror at an angle you have not seen before. And what you see in that mirror is going to ask you to update something, to release an old operating principle that has been more of a limitation than a protection. Be open to it. That openness is not weakness. It is one of the rarest forms of Capricorn courage. If what you are hearing feels accurate, know that it could happen if you applied this energy consistently for 21 consecutive days. That is the 21-day challenge pinned at the top of this channel. It is built around daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you are tired of staying in the same cycle, that structure is exactly what has been missing. Shift 3. An opportunity will appear that requires you to trust yourself. The next 7 days are going to present you with something that looks like an opportunity, but also, if you look at it from the side that you usually look from, looks like a risk. It is going to require a decision, and the decision is going to come down to a single question. Do you trust yourself? Not your track record, not your credentials, not the approval of others or the certainty of outcome, just yourself. Your instincts, your judgment, your sense of what is right for your life at this specific moment. This is a difficult question for Capricorn, and here is why. You are a sign that trusts evidence. You trust things you can verify, plans you can back up with data, outcomes you can project with some degree of confidence. And that makes you excellent at managing risk in the traditional sense. But it can also mean that when an opportunity does not come with a complete manual, when it asks you to step forward before all the pieces are in place, you hold back not because the opportunity is bad, but because you are not yet sure you can trust your own read on it. The shift that is coming is going to ask you to trust your read before the evidence is complete. It is going to require you to say, I know what I know. I have built what I have built. I have earned the right to step forward here. And then to do it. Not recklessly, not without thought, but with the quiet, grounded confidence that has always been available to you underneath the self-doubt that sometimes layers over it. This is one of the most important shifts of the next 7 days. How you respond to this opportunity will shape the direction of the weeks and months ahead. Shift 4. Something you have been waiting on will finally begin to move. Capricorn is practiced at waiting. You understand better than almost any other sign that good things are built over time, and that patience is not passivity but a form of active endurance. You have been waiting on something. Maybe you know exactly what it is, something specific with a name and a timeline that you have been tracking. Maybe it is more diffuse than that, a general sense that things were supposed to move forward and they have not, that a part of your life has been in a kind of holding pattern that you have been living around while it waits to resolve. Over the next 7 days, something in that holding pattern is going to begin to move. Not necessarily to completion. Capricorn knows better than to expect everything to resolve at once. But there will be movement where there has been stillness. A response will come where silence has been the only answer. A situation that seemed frozen will show a sign of life. A door that seemed closed will open, even if only by a few inches. This movement matters because it is going to release energy that has been tied up in waiting. When you have been holding space for something to change for a long time, the act of actually waiting takes a kind of background effort that you may not even be consciously aware of. When the thing finally starts to move, that energy is released and it becomes available to you again. You may feel lighter in the coming days without being entirely sure why. You may find that you have more mental space for things that have been waiting for your attention. That is not coincidence. That is what happens when a held breath is finally released. Shift 5. You will feel a strong urge to simplify. Over the next 7 days, Capricorn, you are going to feel a pull toward simplification. A desire to clear what is unnecessary, to streamline where things have become complicated, to strip away the layers of obligation and activity that have accumulated over time, until what is left is just the essential core of what actually matters to you. This is not going to feel like giving up. It is going to feel like relief. You may look at your schedule and want to remove things that have been taking up space without giving back real value. You may look at your home and want to clear out what no longer serves you. You may look at certain relationships or commitments and feel, clearly and without guilt, that it is time to reduce how much of yourself you invest there. Capricorn sometimes resists simplification because your drive to be productive can make it hard to let anything go. Letting go can feel like underperforming. But simplification in this context is not about doing less because you are less capable. It is about focusing more specifically so that your energy goes exactly where it is most needed and most powerful. The next 7 days are going to show you, with unusual clarity, where your energy is being diluted, where your attention is scattered across things that matter less than the core. And the shift you will feel is a real desire, not just an intellectual understanding, but a felt desire to concentrate yourself, to become more focused, to trade quantity of effort for quality of direction. That shift is a sign of maturity and also of readiness. You are preparing to move with greater precision into what is coming. Shift 6. Your body will begin telling you the truth. Capricorn has an interesting relationship with the body. You are disciplined enough to maintain routines, to push through when things are hard, to override physical discomfort when the goal demands it. You are also often very good at ignoring what the body is trying to say when what it is saying is inconvenient. The ache that you push through instead of resting, the fatigue you outwork instead of addressing, the tension that you have been carrying in your shoulders or your jaw or your gut for so long that you have stopped noticing it is there. Over the next 7 days, your body is going to begin communicating with you more clearly. And one of the shifts you will notice is that you are more willing to listen. You may find that you start paying attention to what certain foods do to your energy. You may feel a spontaneous desire to move your body in a way that is less about performance and more about how it actually feels. You may sleep differently, either sleeping more deeply in a way that actually restores you, or sleeping less but waking with more genuine alertness. You may also notice areas of tension or discomfort more clearly, not because they are getting worse but because you are finally paying attention. This is the body asking for partnership, asking to be treated not as a tool for the achievement of goals, but as a living, sensing part of you that has its own intelligence and its own wisdom. The shift is toward a relationship with your physical self that is more honest and more caring. And when that relationship improves, everything else in your life improves with it. If this message is resonating with your sign right now, trust that it is not a coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it sends exactly the right signal at exactly the right moment. And you are here because you needed to hear this today. Your support, whether as a subscriber or as a member of this community, is what keeps these messages alive. The ones that touch hearts, awaken minds, and transform lives. If this video has been making sense to you, drop in the comments the day you were born. Let us keep going. Shift 7. A creative energy will return that you had almost forgotten. Capricorn is not always seen as a creative sign, at least not in the way that word is typically understood. People think of creativity as something spontaneous and expressive and unstructured, which does not immediately sound like you. But Capricorn has a profound creative capacity that manifests in a specific way. Through the creativity of building, of designing systems, of finding elegant solutions to difficult problems, of creating structures that are both functional and beautiful in their efficiency. Beyond that, many Capricorns carry genuine creative gifts that they have set aside at various points in life because creativity felt indulgent or impractical in comparison to the demands of responsibility. Over the next 7 days, a creative energy that you may have nearly forgotten about is going to make itself known again. It may announce itself as an idea you cannot stop thinking about. It may come as a desire to make something with your hands or to write something or to solve a problem in a way that is different from how it has been approached before. It may arrive as an unexpected enthusiasm for a project at work that is asking you to think outside your usual framework. However it comes, this returning creative energy is significant. It is a sign that a part of you that has been in storage is waking up. The turning point you are moving through is not just practical. It is not just about external circumstances changing. It is also about who you are expanding back into a fuller expression of itself. Your creativity is part of that expansion. Let it come. Do not immediately ask whether it is practical or productive. Let it come first. The practical application will find its way in time. Shift 8. Old resentments will begin to lose their charge. There are things that happen, Capricorn, that you have not forgotten. You are not a sign that forgets easily, and you are not a sign that forgives easily either. When someone wrongs you, when trust is broken, when you are let down by someone you counted on, it goes in somewhere deep. You do not always speak about it. You do not stage dramatic confrontations. You simply remember. And sometimes what you remember quietly colors how you move through the world, how much you trust, how much you let in, how guarded you keep yourself against the possibility of being hurt in the same way again. Over the next 7 days, you are going to notice that some of those old resentments are beginning to lose their charge. Not because you have decided to force yourself to forgive. Not because someone has earned it with an apology or an acknowledgement. But because the weight of carrying what happened is becoming something you are ready to put down. This is a different kind of release. It is not about the other person at all. It is about you, about your own energy, about the space that frees up when you stop devoting a portion of your attention to grievances that have already served their purpose. The resentments you carry have taught you things. They have shaped your discernment. They have shown you what to protect and who deserves your trust. But now they have given what they had to give. The shift over the next 7 days is toward a quiet internal release that does not require anything from anyone else. Just the recognition that you are ready to travel lighter from here. Shift 9. Someone from your past will come back into your awareness. Within the next 7 days, Capricorn, someone from an earlier chapter of your life is going to come back into your awareness. This may happen literally, with an actual contact from someone you have not spoken to in months or years. Or it may happen more subtly, as a memory that surfaces unexpectedly and carries a quality of meaning that goes beyond simple nostalgia. This return is not random. When old connections resurface at a time of turning, they almost always carry something. A piece of unfinished business that can now be completed with greater grace and clarity. A reflection of who you used to be that helps you see how far you have traveled, or a genuine reconnection with someone who belongs in the next chapter of your life, even though they were present in an earlier one. Capricorn does not typically embrace unexpected reconnections with open arms. You are careful. You have reasons for the distances you maintain. But the shift that is coming is asking you to approach this return with more curiosity than caution. Not to blindly reopen everything that was once closed, but to genuinely ask, what is this return offering? What is it inviting? What does it say about where I am now compared to where I was then? The answer you arrive at will tell you a great deal. And what you do with that answer will be part of how the next chapter begins. Shift 10. Your sense of your own worth is going to strengthen. Capricorn, the way you see your own worth has not always been accurate. You tend to measure your value through what you produce. Through how much you get done, how reliable you are, how well you meet your obligations, how consistently you perform. This means that in periods when life is difficult and the external output slows, your sense of your own worth can take a hit that has nothing to do with who you actually are. You are worth more than what you produce. That is a statement that many Capricorns have heard before, and that they struggle to fully internalize. Because the Capricorn identity is so bound up with effort and achievement that separating self-worth from performance feels almost dangerous, like removing a foundation stone. But one of the shifts that is coming over the next 7 days is a deepening of your sense of your inherent worth. Not earned worth, not conditional worth, just the settled understanding that you have value that exists outside of your output, outside of your usefulness, outside of what you accomplish or produce. This may come through a moment of being genuinely appreciated for who you are rather than what you do. It may come through a conversation where someone reflects back to you a quality of your character that you had not been seeing. It may come through a quiet internal recognition when you do something kind without any benefit to yourself and feel, for a moment, the simple rightness of being a person who does that kind of thing. Whatever the form, this strengthening of your sense of worth is going to change how you approach what comes next. When you know your own worth, you make different choices. Better ones. Shift 11. You will begin to see the shape of what is coming. The 11th and final shift of the next 7 days is the most encompassing. It is the moment when the previous 10 shifts, each in their own way quietly working in you, come together into a kind of vision. Not a perfect roadmap. Capricorn is too realistic to expect that. But a genuine shape. A sense of what the next significant portion of your life is actually going to look like, not as a fantasy or a wish, but as a plausible, real, achievable reality. You may see it in a single clear moment of recognition, or you may see it accumulate gradually over several days as different pieces fall into their right places. You may see it most clearly in something you have quietly wanted for a long time that suddenly does not feel out of reach anymore. The shape of what is coming includes things you have worked for, yes, but it also includes things that go beyond the strictly practical. Things like peace, things like genuine connection, things like work that feels aligned with who you actually are and not just with what you can do under pressure. Things like a version of your daily life where you are not just surviving the demands placed on you, but genuinely thriving within a life that reflects your values. Capricorn, this shape that is beginning to clarify in your inner vision is not a daydream. It is a preview. Trust it. Let it guide the decisions you make in the coming days and weeks. The 7 days ahead are not just 7 ordinary days. They are the beginning of the next chapter, and you are ready. If this message resonated with your sign, trust that it is not a coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it always sends exactly the right signal, and you are here because you needed to hear this today. Your support as a subscriber or as a member of this community is what keeps these messages alive. They are the messages that touch, awaken, and transform. If this video made sense to you, leave in the comments the day you were born. There is a version of you, Capricorn, that the people in your life only partially know. It is the version that exists beneath the competent, reliable, disciplined exterior that you have built over years of showing up and doing what needed to be done. It is the version that has hopes that go beyond achievement, that has tenderness you rarely display, that carries a depth of care for the people you love that most of them may never fully see because you have never found it entirely safe to show it that openly. The next 7 days are the beginning of a period in which that fuller version of you is going to have more room to exist. Not because you have been hiding it deliberately, but because the outer circumstances of your life are beginning to align more closely with your inner reality. The work you have done, the patience you have maintained, the standards you have held even when holding them cost you something, are beginning to create a life that actually reflects who you are. That is the real measure of a turning point for Capricorn. Not just external success, though that is part of it, but the quiet, profound satisfaction of looking at your life and recognizing yourself in it. Of feeling that what you are building is genuinely yours. Of knowing that the person you are, with all your seriousness and loyalty and ambition and care, is exactly the right person for this exact moment. You have always been building something. Over the next 7 days, you are going to start to see it more clearly. The walls are going up. The foundation holds. And what you have been working toward is closer than it has ever been before. Keep going, Capricorn. You are almost there.